This is causing shocks around the world. Still, the global economy feeling the pinch of this conflict. Hello, good morning, everyone. More news from Lebanon on Sunday. That's the UN interim force in Lebanon mandated in the south of the country. He was killed in a booby trap targeted. Sorry, he was an Indonesian UNIFIL soldier was killed yesterday in Lebanon. But we also have news coming tonight from UNIFIL that two further UNIFIL soldiers were killed. They're saying it's an explosion of unknown origin. They haven't
Ayan,
released
very hard magtalog ng kalabasa guys.
two fatal incidents, three UNIFIL soldiers killed, showing that the UNIFIL the UN troops are getting caught in the crossfire between Israel and Hezbollah in southern Lebanon as the conflict there also continues to escalate.
Thank you so much, Oz, for these details. This was Oz Kennedy reporting live from Beirut. President Donald Trump allowed one
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Good evening.
First, is this change the light? Or perhaps Cuba could be the next on Donald Trump.
It's 3 p.m. Monday, guys. This is this one is very hard of the skin
After months of economic
because she's
delivery of oil.
is Tagalog ay kalubasa. Kalubasa, squash. Very hard. Alisin po yung kanyang nahihirapan akong mag-alis ng balat.
Regular blackout. Without electricity, Cubans have experienced food shortages, rationing, and a lack of access to essential services like hospitals.
Gagawin kong gulay, bilang lang. Hello po. Watching this kalabasa. Nahirapan ako magtali. Ang hirap niyang remove.
As a great power in this new global economy. And the hope is that will soften the Russian eagerness to, let's say, counter American military Latin American and European countries, as well as China, have delivered tons of humanitarian aid to help feed the islands. Our food and rations have begun to spoil. Trump's fuel blockade on Cuba has affected other countries, including Mexico, which is another large supplier import to Cuba. The U.S. has enforced Mexico's three-port blockade on Cuba since the 1960s, when Fidel Castro's communist regime took control. They would prefer a Cuban change like we had it on Cuba, but we cannot exclude the possibility that they will.
Thank you sa like. Subscribe and like, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate your like and subscribe.
The U.S. administration is calling Lithuania to open passage for Belarusian Tash after Minsk released more political prisoners and a deal broken by Washington. The effort to better relations over the regime comes as the rest of Europe is reluctant to ease any sanctions on Belarus for its close relationship with Moscow. Uzavna Yurek has this report. U.S. President Donald Trump was generous with his accolades towards none other than the Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko.
By onwards Belarus John Cole, after negotiating with the highly respected President Alexander Lukashenko, got 250 more politically free.
Kita niyo, mahirap magtali.
Well over 500 since last.
The prisoner release was negotiated by Washington in exchange for easing conditions on Minsk, Russia's closest ally, which continues to wage its full-scale war against Ukraine, going on 5 years. And in light of the most recent prisoner release, John Paul, Trump's special envoy for Belarus, appealed to neighboring Lithuania to open transit routes through the country for Belarusian imported fertilizers.
United States expects Lithuania to do its utmost in order to improve relations, allowing Belarusian fertilizers being transported via Lithuania. EU has strong and complete sanctions on fertilizers and Russian Belarus as such.
The Belarusian opposition took a critical stance against the US pressure on Vilnius. We enforce communication with our American partners and we encourage them to put further out on European Union countries on Lithuania, first of all, to lead to European sanctions because Poland is extremely important. However, other opposition figures suggest that pulling Minsk closer to the West might bring forth a desired, if tentative,
we think that Belarusian people should not be equal to Lukashenko regime, but any attempts to do it from Russian pressure taken, although we agree that Lukashenko is very deeply dependent on
with the success of Belarus out of Russia's sphere of influence seeming limited, Smith stressed that the US's actions might be
Hello, thank you sa like and subscribe my YouTube channel, guys.
for the current administration. It's very good, to have this humanitarian track because it shows this kind of more humane face of the administration, and though the US praises its success.
Put them in jail, and this looks like a vicious circle.
According to estimates from human rights organizations, over 900 people are still being held by the Belarusian government as political prisoners. For TV World, Susanna Jurek. Exactly 2 weeks away from the Hungarian general elections, a new poll shows that Prime Minister Viktor Orban's Sweden is in trouble. The ruling party that comes behind the progress in FIFA, led by Peter he has been considered one of the when the plane felt a major shift. Our correspondent Andrew Scoop. Enter a new dimension of testing. Moody's Chocolate Theory. Women with not chocolate since 1907.
The home exposed to tens of thousands of home buyers. I'm Ty Dorsey with Real Broker, where I combine elite digital marketing, 20+ years of experience to get you the results you deserve. Let's get your home sold. Click here today to start your week.
My name is Owen Clay. I'm in the biology department studying ecology as a biology major, especially in ecology and conservation. I meet a lot of people who really care for the environment. It's been great making me.
This one is moringa. Moringa malunggay in Tagalog. Moringa English.
I was talking to Prague about doing marine biology. At the start of my second year, I started to do my own research into my own project. And personally, for me, the opportunity to do this, the opportunity to do research and lead my own project at the end of my second year was something that I had possible. And when I talked about it, people so I'm
A major shift. Our correspondent Andrew Sweeney has more.
The new poll by 21 Research Centre shows that the pro-European party led by Peter Major has demanding lead with several constituencies across Hungary. The anti-EU Fidesz party led by Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Now, why does that matter? Well, most polls in the election happening thus far
national voting intention. So we know, for example, that amongst decided voters, according to one poll, these are ahead by 20%. But this poll by 21 Research Center goes into really granular detail and highlights different constituencies across the country that are showing a teaser lead. For example, in Meadsclose, teaser is up by 14%. It's the fourth largest city and has always been stronghold for Fidesz. It's like Strelava, a suburban town about an hour outside of Budapest, teaser is up by 9%. And in Baja, constituency in Fidesz's stronghold, the rural Hungary, the rural heartland, teaser is up by 4%, leading against a candidate who's been in that constituency MP since 1998. Now, if these results are replicated on April 12th, when Hungarian gentlemen, there will be a wipeout of Fidesz's seats and a total victory for Caesar. Now, that might explain why Fidesz, in particular, saw that appeared relatively desperate in recent days. On Friday, he lost his temper in reaction to the counter protesters at his rally in Europe, threatening that they wanted to Hungary to go up with Ukraine. Also, at that rally were Matt and Brent Black, who reacted with violence to the protesters, driving some of them away.
Excuse me.
Local media sources appeared this rally. That was originated in the Euromaidan revolution in Ukraine in 2014. Campaign
Wait lang, guys.
you remember 80% of the Hungary that I've told, in some way, have more than an interview that already full. People started open about these kinds of in the shows in a single constituency. The majority of seats on the file, 106, 199. Either is gaining an advantage that may well be insurmountable for Fidesz if it wants to win. So TPP will then make up.
Municipal elections in Serbia have come to an end, with President Alexander Vučić claiming he still commands broad support despite months of anti-government protests. But the Serbian Progressive Party's victory came amid numerous irregularities and mass violence against citizens and journalists. The conclusion is clear. This election came at a cost. Our Balkan correspondent, Pavel Trzaskowski, reports.
These local elections were to be a litmus test for the ruling Serbian Progressive Party and the country's president, Alex Vučić.
This election were rather referendum about his position.
And the president's position has been undermined by 17 months of student-led protests, which started after a concrete canopy of a railway station in Novi Sad collapsed, tragically killing 16 people. Since then, President Vučić and the Serbian Progressive Party have been confronted with accusations of corruption and state capture. But on Sunday, their candidates claimed a victory in all 10 municipalities. However, this result came at a cost.
They put a lot of money for winning this election. So for the past 3 months, I was with them. I was observing there were a lot of new investment in those municipalities, vote buying.
And electoral observers note that the irregularities do not end there.
On election day, we saw everything from multiple voting, ballot stuffing, abuse of voters' registry, breaching of the secrecy of the ballot.
Our president report are not a good sign. Let's not parliamentary elections expected to be held by the end of this year. Different scenarios are either
There are all the applications that the president used 2 mandates actually impede him from running a third time, might decide to switch positions and become prime minister.
This scenario means that the parliamentary elections would not take place until the current government's mandate expires at the end of 2027, meaning at least 1 more year in power for Vučić. Pavel Trzaskowski, TVP World.
The Polish military has just gained 2 radar satellites that can monitor Earth no matter the weather. The devices built by the Polish company ISAT are part of a bigger thrust by Poland to achieve sovereign space intelligence capability.
3, 2, 1, and lift off.
SpaceX's rocket Falcon 9 took off on Monday from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, carrying more than 100 satellites. Among them are two spacecraft for the military, built and operated by a Polish company, ISIE. They will have surveillance capability. As part of the €200 million program, Poland will get 6 radar satellites with 3 already in space. That's not the end of the space build-up. The country is also investing in another satellite constellation, this time meant for optical surveillance. Those small optical crafts will be joined by bigger ones called Polios in 2027. Volodymyr Zelensky's Gulf tour came to an end with a major announcement of Ukraine agreeing on a deal meant to supply weapons and defense technology to help unblock the Strait of Hormuz. Joining me now is Brandon Wilson and his consequences, the Senate attracted executive board member at Bertelsmann Stiftung. Thank you so much for being on the program.
Good evening. Happy to be with you tonight.
So considering Ukraine is the end and what we that's between the and the deal. Is there going to be especially possible to help and the rest of the world will be able to get more help. Very important step. I think that no Ukraine can really when Ukraine and Russia's Ukraine was really going into the background and was put on hold Iran. Now, with the latest deal, I think here in Ukraine, both states and what they call Russians war Ukraine they also play out in our security needs and here in the Middle East. So I believe that the Gulf states may be more inclined to think about supporting Ukraine the other way around as well, thanks to this support and thanks to their understanding that, of course, Russia plays a role for Iran as much as Iran plays a role for Russia. So this deal that we're looking at, according to this, is meant for 10 years and should see the Gulf when it comes to their end of the bargain to provide your energy supplies. I think that if that actually materialize, this could actually change the balance of power in the battlefield when it comes to Ukraine and Russia. For the immediate time, it is important Ukraine, the Western forces for the moment do not consider this deal to reduce the efforts they need to make. I think that's very important to see. But over the medium term, I think there is a different source, of course, for Ukraine in terms of energy and then possibly also in terms of political support that they may get when, for instance, Ukrainian president are in the United Nations or elsewhere. Because some of the Gulf states have in previous conflicts played an important role between conflict parties. And many of Ukraine's benefit if more countries get interested in the way this war ends. Currently, the United States engaging to end the war, but Ukraine has to have out about the neutrality, of course, that the United States bring to the negotiations. So, what do you think is the response? What is the U.S. administration now thinking, considering that President Zelensky announced this deal? They're looking from the side. We've heard from President Trump that first he wanted these experts on drone control from Ukraine to come over to the Middle East. Then we heard US has the best drone technology in the world and doesn't want Ukraine to help. Now we're having to do it. What do you think is the response?
I think it is first of all very important. In fact, so Donald Trump or has in many cases proven to be beneficial to come to the table and as an active player. And Zelensky has just done that. And I think that is already a better position for Ukraine than not showing that kind of leadership. With regard to Donald Trump, position on engineering and drone technology, indeed the position has shifted, so it's very hard for me to tell where he moves next. I think it's almost impossible to know. But what I think we structurally see is that Ukraine, thanks to the experience it has, in particular Israel and Israel defense, that is an increasingly important player. And leaders in the Gulf region will, of course, honor this new relationship that Zelensky has just been building in terms of returns. And we have seen the energy part of it, and I do believe this also politically strengthens, and not only in terms of energy provision.
As we look at the situation in the Middle East and we zoom out, in your opinion, how's the European Union dealing with the fallout of the war in the Gulf? I mean, does Europe have it under control, or perhaps nothing worse as yet?
But the economic effects of the war are very tough for Europe to bear. We see fossil energy prices on the rise, and the inflationary cycle that is coming, and central bank will have to raise interest rates coming, and all of this puts enormous weight on real economy. Already now, we hear that the high fuel price puts a lot of price pressure on a number of industries, of course, but also of services, like people who have to use their card to deliver the services they deliver. All of this is the next burden. And the economic growth of the European Union was not forecast to be very strong this year anyway, and there's a real risk that the high energy prices put the European Union further back in terms of economic growth. So another result is, of course, that governments discuss what they can do, what the European Union can do together, and we actually may see national methods to support from within the single market would be a bad result for Europe. So it's very important that, in particular, if there is move towards subsidizing and so on, that this is done in compliance with the single market rules, because our real strength at the moment is the single market and the economic power we have. So it is very important not to undermine that for national defense.
Our time on the program is slowly coming to an end, but before we go, one more question. U.S. is pressuring Lithuania to open the route to allow Belarus to transport its potash. And the EU is refusing to get involved with Belarus because of the package of sanctions and the close relationship that Minsk has with Moscow. Why do you think Donald Trump is trying to warm up relations with Lukashenko's regime?
Well, there are competing explanations, and one of them has been for a long while, because this tendency to build a new relationship with Belarus, or to loosen the tensions of the relationship, served for Belarus from the point from Putin, and both of these expressions of this Lukashenko to Washington.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you very much. How's your day? Kumusta po kayong lahat? Sana po ay lagi tayong okay. Lagi nasa mabuting kalagayan. Ayan. Nagluluto po ako. Then, see you next video again. God bless to all. Bye-bye.